Welcome back everyone, and to episode 31. So in the previous videos you see me take off the front suspension and I feel like I've stalled slightly with it because I'm not really sure what to do. So after discussing with a few people on the comments and via Instagram, what I'm going to do is just disassemble it, lay it all out on the bench, work out which bits I need to replace, which bits I can keep, and just bash forwards like that. If I don't just dive in, it seems to just be this blocker and I'll never move on. I also have a lot of jobs sort of open at the moment. There's the brake calipers that I was sandblasting. That's taken a lot longer than I thought. What I'm going to do is have a go at it with the wire brush on my drill to get the bulk of the dirt off, and then try sandblasting into the corners. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to give them to a local company to sandblast, and then we'll do the restoration. And there's also stuff like this fuel distributor, the fueling system, that I've just laid on the bench, on the engine here. But I really want to run that up on the bench and blow out any grit that are inside these fuel lines, which they're bound to be, before I attach the injectors. I can also tell them whether the distributor leaks, which, who knows, I build it. But I'll probably change my focus to that after I've got those front suspension struts sort of rebuilt and ready to go back on the car. There's also lots of bushes and things that need replacing, and I'm just trying to work out exactly what I need before I click buy. But we'll get there slowly. So as ever, thanks for watching. Please click the subscribe button, and let's dive on in and see where we get to this week. Right, I've borrowed a ball joint separator. You guys were of course correct. So what I'm going to try and do, I think it's actually slightly too small. Oh no, it's got on there now. Okay, forget that. So I'm just going to wind that up slowly, just a fraction. I think you can see what's going on. I'll give it a bit of a tap as well and just see if it comes out. Right, there's a bit of tension on it now. Perhaps one more crank and then we'll put a bit of... I'll give it a little tap around with a hammer. Okay, so I've opted to put the nut on the end this time. The actual ball joint itself is probably trashed anyway, but when it does go bang, it will just stop it flying off too far, hopefully. So let's tighten this up again. So I'm going to try a bit of heat. There's a lot of tension on that ball joint at the moment. So I figured if we just warm it up a little bit, I'm going to replace the actual ball joint anyway. So I'm just going to warm that up and see if that is enough to make it pop. There we go. Perfect. Gave it in the end. Actually didn't need much heat at all, did it? So that's pretty good. I was worried about overheating and setting everything on fire. So I should be able to take that off now. I'm just going to untangle, because that nut is on quite tight. It's never straightforward, is it? So I think I'll probably take it off from the tie rod there, and then I can sort of take it away and do it on the bench. I think that's probably going to be easier. So I'll do that now. So I've no idea if it's the correct method or not, but since I'm replacing these ball joints anyway, I went for the probably the more destructive method. I just hold the rod stable and then put a very large spanner on the end here, if I can get it on there again, and then wind it out. I heat it up, you can still see it smoking, so obviously that helped it quite a lot. I should really take the whole steering rack away from the car because I'm sort of crouched in the wheel arch, which is a little bit less than ideal, but it's fine. Okay, so I just need to wind it out now, really. It seems, it's not loose, but it's turning. I can turn it without too much problem. A bit of penetrating oil in there, so hopefully that'll just slowly unwind out. Right, we're pretty much out now, I think. That should probably undo by hand, yeah. Okay, there's one ball joint off. Great. That's another okay, now the nut is attached to this. That's good. There's another part off that I can order. I think I need to get that steering rack away from the car now. I'll take the other ball joint off, but I might do that away from the car. I want to give the whole steering rack a really good clean up, maybe with the power wash or something. Buy new bellows. Yeah, I can see it's ripped just looking at it now. Inspect that, see what sort of state that's in. Cowardly, I'm trying to avoid rebuilding the steering rack. I think it's quite an in-depth task. Shout if it's not and you think I should do it. I was going to clean it all up and then just sort of see what it looks like, and fingers crossed. It's not that hard to get to if I needed to do it later. It's just the bottom of the engine cross member. Should be straightforward to get out anyway. But let me know in the comments as always. So up here on the bench I've got the new spring compressors on. If you look at how these work, you can probably see better on that one. They really latch over. Much better grip over the spring, so I'm quite happy with those. And I've wound them up quite tight. I don't know how tight to wind them, but that's pulled it in pretty significantly. These are the old clamps, and you can see from the shape of the claw, it's believable that that could just slip off. Really didn't feel comfortable with those. These are good, like it. It's also cast as opposed to bent, which sort of, it gives you a much better sort of cup like that to get onto the spring. So I think I'm going to take it outside and very delicately undo the end nut. I think I've taken most of the bite out the spring. I may just quickly refer, there's a YouTube video, quickly refer back to that and just double check before we go any further. I'm going to wind it up a little bit further. I really don't know how tight to make it. It's hard to know. I'm just going to keep cranking up for a minute. I'll do a bit one side and then switch to the other side. I assume the spring's okay being pulled in like this. Probably happens when you go over a big bump. Anyway. Right. Okay, it just came loose from the end there, so clearly that is alright. So a little bit more. Okay. Right, so it's come away from the bottom of the suspension, the damper sort of mounting, so I know that that is looser then. Okay, so let's now do this end, which I've got a 19mm spanner. Check you can see what I'm up to. I'll take you around the other side so you can see it a bit easier. Right, so I'm going to use this to hold the inner bit still and then unwind it. Apparently that's the way. I guess it'll go shooting across the garage if I got this wrong. Maybe we should be doing this outside. So a little check and just see if it feels loose. Obviously the spring's not loose, but it is loose down this end. It's properly come away from the suspension, so it must be okay to undo. You're okay, you're behind the lens. You probably notice I'm working more and more at arm's length. Must be okay. Must be okay. Must be okay. So the nut's nice and loose anyway. Okay. Okay, so let's take it apart piece by piece. One nut, one big washer. Looks like the whole end piece. Seems to come off in one go. That's pretty rusty. We'll investigate that later. Then coming the other direction, we've got the shock absorber. I'll make sure it's all on camera for you. You can see that kind of says a big dirty shock absorber with this protective sleeve on, which I'll leave in there for the minute, and the spring. So that's all the bits. I'm pretty sure this comes apart. It clicks, so it must come apart in some way. We can investigate that. I think it comes apart just here somewhere on that seal. No. I'll have a look at the parts on the part diagram. That usually tells me how things come apart. So there's lots of bits there that need looking at. So the damper, I'm potentially going to use some pre-used ones. Yeah, so the bump stops, which I assume that's the bump stop, is pretty bumped up as well. So these are quite noisy. I don't know if you can hear it. That's just the bump stop, but I can hear the fluid inside the damper sort of chirping and making weird noises, so it's probably not in very good state. Okay, that's quite a good place to stop, I think, with the suspension until I resolve what we're doing with the damper. Disassemble this further, renew what bits I need to renew, restore what I can restore. The spring I may leave compressed up for the moment, although I do want to measure it and just see what length it is, so I know whether it's become shortened or sort of compressed over time, whether I need to replace them. Okay, that's a good place to stop for that. I think we can take this apart now, let the spring out, measure the spring, check it's all the right size. Right, so we have the spring. We've seen that many times. We've got this top mount, which comes apart. So they're the studs that wouldn't let go of the bolts, nuts, sorry, so that we need to look at those. We've got this top plate. Now, tiny bit of rubber frame around the edge. This is rusty, so that needs tidying up. But that's presumably a glue. That doesn't look too bad to me. Inside here we've got a conical washer that was coned. The cone is up. That's that. And then we have this mount. Now, it's rusty, but the rubber is not perished. I think what I'll do, this is about £250, this one. I think I'm going to clean it up with my wire brush on a drill, and we'll have a look and see what sort of state it's in. We can look at the rubber a bit closer then. There's a tiny bit of surface cracking, but it doesn't look too bad. Okay, let's do that now. So 5 minutes with my wire brush, that's what it looks like. And while this top section here is a little bit rusty, it's a bit of surface rust, the rubber looks very intact. I don't see any real reason to replace it. I mean, shout if I'm reading that wrong. The underside, a little bit of surface rust, but nothing really. But you can see the rubber looks okay to me. So what I'll do is I'll clean the other one up the same, and I think we just go with these. I mean, they're not hard to replace anyway. Obviously need 2 new studs for there. If it all goes wrong, I can just whip them out and swap it over again. So following on from that, then we've got the conical washer. This, I forget what this is called, but it's clearly snapped, so we need a new one of those. The washer will be fine. We need the 2 new studs for the rubber mount there. So let's just keep those all together. This top bit I need to just tidy up. I think it's going to be okay. Another sort of coned washer there. Then we have the extra damper. Now the damper I will replace. He's got his hat, which looks fine. There's this rubber bump stop, which is perished, so we need a new one of those. Just out of interest though, That damper's dead, isn't it? If I pull it all the way out, it does nothing. And I think it should sort of restore back to where it was, but it does nothing. Yeah, nothing at all. I can hear the oil sort of seep around it. It's hard to push and pull, but I think it should be doing more than that. And I believe this collar comes off of here. Now, if that collar's cheap, I'll just buy another one because that is a bit rusty. That would save a lot of time and effort. And presumably, I don't know whether they come with the new rubber mounting down here, or if it's just a hole and I have to buy the rubber mount. We'll check when I get them. Okay, so let's disassemble the other side now and see what sort of state that one's in. Just measuring up the spring to see if it compressed at all. It sits at, I guess, 36 3/4 centimeters, I'd say. That's exactly 14.5 inches. Right, so doing the second one, should be able to bash through this in high speed. So let's put the springs on, just turn it the other way around for the minute. I'll put the clamps on and then put you into fast forward mode. Okay, that's all apart now. Probably the same issues as the other one. Bump stop looks a little bit tired. Okay, I was going to say this washer's not cracked, but it is. It is now. That's obviously fine. Spring. This top mount should just drop off. Looking at the rubber on this again, looks pretty solid, but let's clean it up first before we really decide. I'll take that top bit off in a second, decompress the spring, and that's the suspension fully apart. So what I'm going to be doing then is definitely ordering these two parts. I know I need those. I need new shocks. I might have a used solution coming for those. This is all fine. I'll assess this stuff in a second and clean them up, see. Most likely I'll reuse. Looking at what the other one, sort of stick the other ones in, it's fine. Spring I will tidy up and give it a paint or a spray or whatever. I'm actually looking at plastic coat, which is like a, I think it's actually a rubber, although it's called plastic coat, a rubberized spray that is flexible. So that would be quite good to get that on there, I think, because it obviously moves all the time. And that pretty much wraps up the dismantling of the suspension. So let's wrap up the video there. Quite pleased to get the suspension apart, out on the bench. I know what bits I need to order now, so I'll get those on order. They'll be here in a week or so, something like that. Very pleased with the spring clamps. Those really had a tight sort of hook over these springs. The previous set, I just didn't feel happy that they were going to hold the spring under such compression. And I was at any moment waiting for it to blow up in my face. In terms of progress, so next up we're going to be looking at getting the, I've got some brake lines rusted on, I need to get those off. I need to scrub out the wheel arches, kill any rust, underseal it, and then we can start looking at putting things back in. I never showed you this, which is the knuckle. I finally got that off, both sides, I'll have you know. So pleased with that. I can replace the ball joint on the bottom there and clean the whole thing up because it's a bit rusty. Yeah, quite pleased with that. Quite a good week. So as ever, thank you for watching. Next week we'll carry on in the wheel arches. Just keep slowly pushing on, and hopefully I'll see you then.